South Korea is reviewing its participation in the US-led effort to ensure safe passage in the Strait of Hormuz. Defense Minister Ahn Gyu-back says that Seoul could contribute in a phased manner, and this could include declaring political support, dispatching personnel, sharing information, or supplying military assets. However, Mr. Ahn says that there was no in-depth discussion on involving the South Korean military. He had met U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon earlier this week. The key waterway is still under Iranian blockade, but latest shipping data shows a Chinese supertanker carrying 2 million barrels of Iraqi crude attempting to pass. Negotiations between Washington and Tehran remain stalled, and the status of the war in limbo. Meanwhile, new figures revealed by the Pentagon showed the conflict had cost Washington close to $29 billion. This is higher than the $25 billion estimate given by Mr. Hegseth at a recent hearing on Capitol Hill. And for more, Blake Sifton is covering this story for CNE from Tel Aviv. Blake, what do we know so far on the progress in the peace negotiations between U.S. and Iran?
Good evening, Paul. Well, those peace negotiations are stalled and essentially remain deadlocked. But despite that, President Trump said he doesn't need Beijing's help to end the war in Iran or reopen the Strait of Hormuz before he left for that crucial summit in China. Now, for their part, Iran are sticking to demands that President Trump has called garbage and that are viewed as non-starters for the U.S. They include a demand that the United States pay Iran war reparations for damage caused in Iran during the conflict, as well as recognize Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran also wants the U.S. to lift the blockade of Iranian ports, end sanctions against Tehran, and reach a permanent ceasefire in Lebanon, where Hezbollah and Israel continue to fight despite a shaky temporary ceasefire remaining in effect. Now, President Trump and other U.S. officials have threatened to return to war if Iran doesn't reach a deal, but that might be easier said than done. A report in the New York Times says that U.S. intelligence has determined that Iran has regained access to 30 of their 33 missile launch sites along the Strait of Hormuz, which suggests that they still maintain serious military capabilities in the area, and that they also maintain some 70% of their pre-war missile stockpiles. Now, this is despite President Trump and other U.S. officials saying that the war has badly degraded Iran's military. Now, also, there are increasing concerns that the U.S. has depleted its own stockpile of Tomahawk cruise missiles, as well as Patriot missile interceptors and other vital missiles.
Now, Blake, Bahrain-led UN resolution on the Strait of Hormuz has gathered the support of 112 countries. What do we know about this?
Well, that resolution calls for freedom of movement through the Strait of Hormuz, safety for mariners, as well as an end to Iranian attacks against its Gulf neighbors. It's being put forth by Bahrain, along with the United States, with key support from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait. And it's also reportedly being co-sponsored by 112 countries. Now, this would represent some 2/3 of all UN member states, and it really reflects just how seriously countries all around the world are taking the economic impact of the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz. No date has been set yet for a vote on this resolution, and we should remember that Bahrain put forth a similar resolution last month that was vetoed by China and Russia.
Well, thank you for that update. That was Blake Sifton reporting for CNA from Tel Aviv.